Hi, this is Brenda Thompson. I am the host of Just Show Up, the podcast that deals with real estate agents and our real estate stories behind the journeys, the fears, the lessons learned along the way. And we are excited to have Tessa Larson with us today. And we are ready to talk about everything about your journey and the things you've learned along the way, too. So hopefully, these conversations are helpful for anyone looking for some insight into what we do every day and how we accomplish it all. Tessa, I am so excited to have you here today with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Brenda. I'm super excited to get to know you and just explain my story and all the things. So thank you so much.
Good. Well, let's dive right in. So, I know that you've been licensed for a little while. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been licensed, kind of your journey, what brought you into real estate, and then maybe some little hurdles you've had to overcome along the way, too.
Sure. So I've been in real estate for 15 years. And when I started in real estate, it was actually a buyer's market, kind of similar to what we're seeing now. That's the market always comes full circle, right? If you've been in it long enough, the market comes back and whatnot. So anyway, I started in 15 years ago. It was a buyer's market then. My first deal ever was a short sale, which is very rare. A lot of agents don't know anything about short sales or foreclosures, or so I feel pretty privileged that I got the most difficult one right out of the gate so that I can set myself up for success for the next 15 years. And I have been with Keller Williams the whole time. I think they're a great brokerage and they're really big on education and educating their clients. So yeah, when I started, like I said, it was a buyer's market, and we've kind of come full circle back into that market, and it's helped strengthen me and be resilient now. So that's really kind of the beginning, middle, and end in a very short, condensed version. But yeah,
So you mentioned short sales, and the first thing I always tell, especially new agents, is don't let that word cloud your thinking of it because it is not short. It is
yeah,
anything but short. It's one of the
sure,
longest actions, but when done and completed, it is one of the ones that I've always felt like is a little bit along the lines of one of the most rewarding ones because you can help people just out of the situation they're in and be able
sure.
to move on to whatever their next phase of life is. So I do applaud you for sticking through that one as your first transaction.
Yeah, I always make the joke. I'm like, I don't know why I stayed because for people who don't know, a short sale is short of foreclosure. That's how they come up with the name. And it's a minimum of 180-day turn time. So from the day that the file gets to the underwriter's hands, a clock starts when that's 180 days. And maybe they've changed the process since I don't dabble in them anymore. We don't have the market for them anymore. But it was so long. I mean, my first sale took me like almost a whole year to sell one house, or the first house that I started, I should say. So I always jokingly say, like, the fact that I stayed in through that, I just built my career on a high level of success because I kind of went through the first right out the gate. So yeah. And before that, I was in college and I worked for a home builder. And so I got the taste of selling houses. I really liked it. I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed the fact that, like, people came in with a vision of what they wanted and building. Back then you could customize homes, right? So people got to pick their cabinets, they got to pick the granite. And it was just very cool to me to see people have their own vision and then they got to live it. They got to come to life. They got to come home to the home that they wanted in their hearts. So that is what started me down this trajectory. And honestly, it's such a wild story with the builder. They ended up not paying me. And I got hired back in the day because, again, this is, 15 years ago. I got hired back in the day. I was a college job and I was just doing it part time. But they hired me on Craigslist. And back then, that's where you
That's a
look for
blast from
jobs.
the past.
Yeah, I know, that's how old I am. I'm saying the word Craigslist. But that's how they hired people. Like if you wanted a job, you went and looked on Craigslist. If you needed a couch, you went and looked on Craigslist. So anyway, I got hired on Craigslist and then I worked for the builder, loved the experience, and then I never got paid. And why I bring that up, it's not to throw the builder under the bus, but like it gave me a really good foundation of like not working for the money. Like I'm not transactional. I'm not, how many transactions am I gonna do this year? It's how many families can I help? And it's just a totally different scene that I set when my clients come and work with me. It's very consultative. It's very in the weeds, very in depth. What do they need? How do we get those needs met? So anyway, that's just a little bit. Feel like I got a really good beginning to my career, and 15 years later, I'm still applying all of it today.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's something that I think our consumers don't really know. Like, we don't have these big giant salaries. Agents are
Yep.
working for the compensation that typically comes at the closing. And so all that time that is spent up front, whether it's with your new home construction clients or your clients for traditional real estate sales, it's spent because you are trying to help them. You're
Yeah.
giving of your time, and then the reward is there at closing. So it's kind of a good thing that you were able to get that experience up front with the new home builder
Right, yeah, a
in a
lot of
way.
people get into the business because they think they see all these big paychecks, and what they don't see is how expensive it is to run a business, and they don't see that you're at closing, and that required you to have 86 phone calls and, hours of transaction, and there's so much, in mailers and so much that goes into retaining clients that all of your commission is justified at the end of the day, and if you're running your business like a business, it's allocated.
Mm.
Anyway.
So anywhere along the way that you felt like there was a hurdle that you had to jump through, I mean, other than starting with one of the difficult sides of the transactions.
Yeah, I think there's always hurdles. I think that even in like the buying process, there's 282 steps, right? So like there's hurdles along the way, every transaction. I don't think that, I think, and I tell this story because it's, I think, funny, but I, I had my second transaction. So my first one was a short sale. My second transaction, I showed up to do the final walkthrough and the seller had rolled up the lawn, like had physically taken the grass off of the front of the house and took it with her. And when
Was
we
it brand new grass that it was
no,
not yet rooted in?
no, nope.
Okay.
She got like a machine, cut it up, rolled it up, and took it with her. And when we questioned her about this, because clearly that's not, I mean, that's wild. Like I've never met anyone in all of my years, and I've met a lot of agents, fortunately. Like no one's taken the lawn. Like I've bought fridges, TVs, all the things, satellite dishes to make the deal go, but I've never heard of anyone taking the lawn. And
No.
so when we questioned her about it, she said, well, you know what happened was my mom's gave me a rose bush and my mom passed away and I wanted the rose bush. So I ripped up the rose bush. And when I did that, I ripped up part of the lawn. And when I ripped up part of the lawn, I realized it didn't look very good. So I thought, well, I'll just take the whole lawn. And then that way they could put down new grass and start over and they wouldn't have it, not looking well. So I learned
Because
very early on.
bare dirt looks better than partial lawn.
Yeah. So that hurdle taught me that there's a lot of room for discrepancy. What our buyers believe are happening and what our sellers believe are happening, or how the things are left up to interpretation, all the way from the contract to closing, to seeing houses to closing on houses. There's so much that is left up to interpretation. So for me, I think that that was my greatest hurdle. I mean, there's been a lot of other crazy things, but that was by far the hurdle that I had to jump that definitely taught me the most valuable lesson, which is, what do we believe we're all saying here? Let's get as crystal clear as possible on those items. Like a lot of people will leave a fridge in the kitchen, non-realty addendum, right? When they move out, they're gonna leave the fridge, which, that varies state to state, right? So we're gonna leave the fridge in the kitchen. Well, there's people who take those fridges and put in other fridges as long as
And
there's a
change
fridge
it
in the
out.
kitchen,
Right.
right? Well, and then your buyers wanted that fridge, that specific fridge, because it makes the good ice, right?
Sure.
And in Texas, we want good ice. So you're writing down, so the way around that is we write down the model number and we take pictures of the fridge and we say, "Hey, when you move out, we're expecting this." And so it really, I've learned kind of the hard way and it helps, negate a lot of the hurdles that could come up along the way.
It does. It's really communication and documentation, and
For
that's what
sure.
it comes down to. Because I have heard of people, in fact, I could understand the wanting to take the rose bush that came from grandmother's house. I understand that. But okay, then you have a conversation about it. You get it kind of
Right.
documented that, okay, I'm going to dig up this one. I'll replace it if I need to. I can go get a new rose bush and put it there if I
Sure.
need to, but not the whole lawn.
Well, and the best part of that story is my entire commission check went to paying for a new lawn for my clients. So I didn't make any money on the deal because I ended up just paying a landscaping company to come plant all new rose bushes, the lawn, all that. So it's, but again, it taught me a valuable lesson on how to disclose, how to, like you said, communicate. So that's,
I
yeah,
always tell my agents to, anytime you come across something like that, it's a great opportunity to reread that part of the contract.
Mhm.
And because we use promulgated forms, and while it may not say anything specifically about rose bush or lawn, it does about some of the improvements that have to
Sure.
do with the exterior, but it may not be specific for what you're looking for, but it will help you and you will remember it the next time too.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of curtain rods, curtains, drapes. That's a common,
Yes. Yes.
very common thing in our business.
Yeah. So, okay, so your first year was a lot of crazy experiences.
Yeah, well, and actually all 15 years have been crazy experiences, but yes, yes. But it makes it fun, it makes it interesting, and I mean, I'm still doing it, so
Good.
it's still
Good.
awesome.
So where would you say that you're picking up most of your clients then? Are they people that you know, or you how are you cultivating that business?
Sure, that's a great question. So, I believe to be successful in real estate, you have to have 3 levers. And as one lever kind of starts to slow down, you have to then pull another lever. So, currently right now my lever is fear of influence, my social media and then open houses.
Okay.
So, I pull a lot that's what I do. That's my main sources of business. I very much love on my database. I love my people. My clients they're like my clients for life, whether they want to be or not. I'm like, we're in this, like we're doing this and, uh, and they appreciate that. They really do because they do at the end of the day, they do want someone who cares as much as they do about their next step and, a life-changing decision. So, I really love on my sphere a lot. So a majority of my business is referral based.
And with that too, 15 years later, you've been in the business now long enough that you've probably seen quite a few that do come back and you've been able to help
Yeah.
them maybe even with a third transaction at this point because, if our average is somewhere around 5 to 7 years,
Yep.
they're coming back to you again and again. And I love those because it's so easy. You already have the relationship. They just pick up the phone and call you and say, "Hey Tessa, it's time again." And you jump into action.
Correct, yeah, and it's fun because I remember when they built their house and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's
Mhm.
right, we put the water heater over here and da da" it's fun how many people's houses live rent free in my head on a regular basis, and I'm, like, thinking about, like, "Oh, yeah, we put the gas meter here," da da da, whatever, right? And so it's fun because I personally know them and their property. I know their house. I know what it means when they bought in. I know what it means when they are selling it, So it's cool. That honestly, that's I think the fun part. Like when you've been in for so many years, there's always kind of something, but there's not a lot you don't know anymore. So getting to see people, and then now their kids moved in, they were babies, and now their kids are like 13. So it's just really cool to see like the different stages of life, and then also how you get to be a part of that, like along the way.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So was that a surprise for you, or was that just kind of something you picked up along the way and were happy about?
yeah. I guess
Or did you hope for that?
I'm so surprised at the fact that, like, when I see my clients, like, we can just pick up just where we left off and just how much, like, I just care about them and how good they are. And I'll call them. And the funny thing is, a lot of them answer my calls because I don't call them all the time. I'm not like, hey, every quarter you're going to hear from me. Like, I'm not that agent. I probably should be that agent, but I'm just not. I'm going to call you and be like, hey, happy birthday. Hey, happy birthday to your kids. I remember their birthdays. Hey, just by the way, I'm showing houses in your neighborhood. Was thinking about you. What are you up to? You know what I mean? Like my calls are
Mhm.
very personal. And I had a client call me 2 days ago and say, hey, my water heater just busted in my attic and it's leaking through my roof, or I'm sorry, through the roof of my ceiling of my garage. What do I do? And I was like, well, hang up with me, call insurance. But I'm so grateful they picked up the phone and thought of me first. Like that says a lot about our relationship and also, you know, um, just the situation at hand. So I was like, we got to file a claim so it goes so beyond just buying and selling houses. Like you have to learn so much about the whole property. You know, you have to know about water heaters. You have to know about HVACs. You have to know about, clean outs. You have to know about root invasion. I mean, there's just so much. And so when I do talk to my people, I'm like, hey, is everything good at the house? Or hey, do you need a handyman? Or, like what can I do? How can I be of value to you today? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's just like me asking, are you good? I think a lot of us, even salespeople, like we get caught up in like, I don't know what to say, so I'm not going to do it. Like, but we're all human. If I pick up the phone and just say, hey, Brenda, it was so getting good getting to know you. I just was curious, how are you today? Are you having a good day? Having a bad day? What's going on? That's wide open.
It is, and if it's a great day, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited I get to share something fun with you that just
Yeah.
happened." Or if it's a bad day, you think, "Wow, I'm thankful you thought of me today because I needed this good." nice call. I needed someone to just say hi to me. And you talked about the things that we have to learn along the way too. Attending the inspection is something that I found we learned so much more about a home than people would think that we do. Like you mentioned, the hot water heater and where it's at and what benefit comes from it being here versus there and how old hot water heaters can be and all of those things that we learn
Yes,
just from dealing with the business and then negotiating for repairs or helping them when they have something break and we've taught them that we are their first call. And so it's a lot that we learn about the function of a house that I think most homeowners don't know themselves.
correct. Yeah, and why? Why would they? If they have a trusted advisor or an expert, they don't need to know,
True.
right? I mean, I
Yes.
don't know everything about plumbing, so I'll call a plumber. It's kind of for me the same concept.
So what would you say has been the biggest surprise for you that you've learned about yourself in this real estate journey? Good or bad?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here and say that I've gotten a lot better, but I'm a big control freak. And I think a lot of agents struggle with that. And I'm not a control freak like within my business. I'm a control freak within like, did I do all the right things? And are they, like I'm thinking about them 1,000 times more than they're thinking about me. And, I'm worried when their house doesn't sell. I'm worried when we don't have the showings. And I want to put the best product out on the market because right now, in current stats, one out of every five houses are selling. So, with that being said, I'm going into listing presentations with kind of this control freak mentality I'm talking about, saying, how are you going to be the one? How are you going to be the one that's chosen? Do you have to move? If you have to move, you have to be the one. We have to stage it. 259% more likely to sell. And I mean, so it's kind of like, it's like that. It's like this like control freak mentality where I'm going to get your house depersonalized. I'm going to get it to be where it's the best product on the market so that you end up with the most money and the best result at the end of the day because that's what you want. That's your goal and I'm going to get you there. So that's kind of my, I guess, being honest and vulnerable. That's probably the one thing for me that I didn't realize. Like I'm so invested, and it's probably not always good, but I am. I'm just so invested. So I've always cared about the people in my life and love on them hard, and it just translates over into my clients and their properties and their lives. And so, yeah,
And I think for some of us, because I'm a little like that myself, and for some of us, it creates sleepless nights for us because we're up worrying about the things that we truly don't control, that
yeah,
we want to
yeah,
control.
and that's the
And
illusion.
yet you're going in to that client and you're talking to them about stats. So you're telling them, hey, this is what we're up against, whatever the market is. And I always say the market is always good for someone.
Sure.
But if that also
Oh yeah.
means it's also bad for someone else. So you're going in right now and giving them stats to help them understand why they need to do what you're suggesting that they should do. And for a lot of sellers, they're going to look at that and go, "Hey, she came in with some honesty. It may have been a
Yeah.
little brutal. It may not have been what I wanted to hear, because she didn't walk in and say you have the most beautiful mansion I've ever walked into, but she gave me real advice, and that advice is what's going to get me over the hump and be one of those houses that actually sells."
Yeah. I do tell them almost all of them their house is beautiful because I don't want to take ugly listings. I got to put my sign in the yard too. So it's a representation of me. So yeah, I definitely uh do take pretty houses and I'm grateful. But yeah, absolutely. You're right. And showing up with stats, being educated, right? I mean, that goes a long way. Again, that's what we're being paid for to be that professional, to have that level of stats. So yeah.
What's the one thing that tool, whether it be a tool, a goal, what's the one thing you have to have?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, let's see. Anyone who knows me would say water because I drink a lot of water, but because I got a lot of energy and I'm always burning
And
through it.
it's good for us.
Yeah. I think that the one thing I have to have would be I think it's just my system. I don't think I could be successful without just my system. So, like waking up, working out, drinking water, being well studied, studying the market, just my routine. Like, I think that's probably the number one thing. I don't think, I think high achievers are high earners. And to be a high earner and a high achiever, that requires a skill set. And so that would be my answer. That's definitely the one thing. If I'd start sleeping late or I start eating bad and it just kind of catches up somewhere, some way, somehow, And, from time to time, that's all very necessary. And, I'm a firm believer in when God gives you rest, rest. And when God gives you work, work, because that's our business. It's ebb and flow, no matter how good you are or, how much you work. I think that's it, is just keeping on the routine, consistency, my system of like, this works. I know it works. Keep doing it, taking care of yourself first. And then, being able to go and pour into others.
So I'm going to point something out because pre-show we saw a picture of your dog, and so I happen to know because my dog is this way too. The dogs learn your routine, so
Yeah,
I bet your sweet puppy could tell us about the routine as well. And go, mom
100%.
does this at this time, she does this at this time,
Yes.
we go to bed at this time because they get really used to those routines as well.
Yes, and I have a Wheaten Terrier, and he's really vocal. I'll show you what she's talking about, my dog. He's very vocal. He likes to boss me around, and I let him. I mean, it's only child syndrome. But yeah, he's like huffing and puffing, like, "Hey, where's breakfast? Like, I'm hungry. What are you doing? Let's go." So you're right. Absolutely. They definitely learn our routine, and
They do.
he runs the show, unfortunately. So
They do. But I think we are better when we set up our routine. And I'm a big time blocker. So, what fits into my routine is that everything has a block time also. And that's what I expect. And I can adjust it. That's easy enough. But these things need to happen in this certain order. And it just keeps me a lot more steady myself.
yeah, that's awesome. I agree.
What else should we discuss about your career path within real estate?
Man, I hate to make this the Tessa Larson show. I don't know.
But it is. It is your opportunity.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, gosh, I've done so many things. I have had the good fortune. I believe that if you're really good to people, people be really good to you. And so I feel like I've, had a lot of good fortune with that. Like I've been on national television, I've been on the radio. I've taught classes, I've been on the board, I've held positions, on stages. I mean, I feel like my exposure is really big. And yet I'm a very humble agent for all that I've accomplished. I feel like when my clients come to me, that they're not getting this big name and this big brand and this overwhelming personality. I think that like being a professional first is like it's this I think in real estate, a lot of agents get caught up in themselves. And we often forget that these people, when they come to me, and this is my experience, when they come to me, they're taking a next step in their life, and it's a big step because no one likes moving. Moving is a pain in the butt. Packing, I mean, you don't know where anything is for like sometimes years. Sometimes we don't, sometimes it's still in the garage like years later, but it sucks. But what everybody does want is they want better. They want what's on the other side. They want a better school district. They want a better job opportunity. They want, a better life, even if that's like we're getting divorced and I'm going to go live in a better neighborhood with someone new. Like on the other side of that process is something better. So I think when I walk into a listing presentation, I'm always thinking like, what is their better? Do I know what their better is? Because if I don't know their goal and motivation, then I'm not going to be good for them. I'm not going to truly be able to hold their hand the whole way. So, and get them what they're really looking for because sometimes people can't vocalize what they want. I've sold thousands of houses. I know what they want, even if they don't tell me. If they walk in a house, they're like, I don't like this. I'm like, yeah, because it's not an open floor plan. Like I know, you know what I mean? And it's not in
I
the
know what
neighborhood.
you want before you know what you want
Yeah.
because
Well,
I'm listening. I'm listening to you.
yeah. And again, that goes back to that, consultative attitude that I
It is.
embody. But I think that's a big deal. I think that if you were out shopping for agents, when I get to the table and I compete with a lot of top agents who, I mean, there's real estate agents are a dime a dozen right now. There was 75,000 license holders in DFW. It's now down to 50 because the market shifted and a lot got out, and rightfully so. And we wish them well. You're still competing with 50,000 other people though, and if you're a good agent, you pretty much know who your competition is on a regular basis. But I sit down at the table and I tell everyone, I'm like a surgeon. Like I am so precise and I'm so like if you've got to get here and you need this, like it's a process. It's a surgical process. There are people out there who are nurses, there's people out there who are doctors, there's people out there who are medical assistants, and they all have the same title, realtor. So like you got to be careful and you got to be selective and a lot of them have egos and a lot of them don't have your best needs. And interviewing agents and really getting to know them, I think is probably a piece of advice that I would give to anyone listening to this. If you're a real estate agent, get so good at your craft that when people come to you, you're their person, and your people will find you. There's enough to go around.
Yes.
there's no need to be anything other than yourself. There's agents who are the fit agent, and their people are fit people, fitness people that work out at CrossFit. Like that's their people, that's their tribe. And I think the challenge is a lot of agents get super caught up in like they want to again, kind of have this big billboard. I want to sell all these homes, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're putting the people first. And those people will find you. The big personality people find the big personality people, right? And so I think that that's kind of just I guess my 2 cents about just all things real estate and kind of myself and where I how I differ and just my whole career basically in that one sentence.
That's awesome. So is there anything next on the horizon for Tessa?
Yes. So I'm so glad you asked me that. So currently, what I am working on is I have a couple venture capitalists groups that have come to me, and title companies and insurance and all sorts of things. There's a lot that has changed on the real estate landscape as the industry as a whole that no one really talks about or knows about. We talk all about and where the market's headed and what's going on, but inside the actual industry of real estate and agents and title companies and mortgage, like all that's changing. A lot of the shops are closing, a lot of things are opening back up, a lot of things are becoming virtual. There's so many changes inside there. One of the things that I have started is a sign running business. So we have transaction coordinating and a couple other things within the business. It's called Runner Inc. You can go to runnerinc.com and look at our website and what the services are. And I say that to tell you, like, I was a really busy agent and I was not leveraged. I did not have anyone to help me. I was maxed out. My health was suffering. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And I always say Runner Inc. is God given, God driven, because God was like, this is what you need to do. And I've brought that out. We've done, I don't even know, I've lost count of how many sign runs. We store signs. So you could say, hey, Brenda, or hey, Tessa, Brenda, can you run my sign? Yep, absolutely. We'll be there. We have people that run it for you. And, they're all background checked. They put lock boxes on the door. We have title companies who use us for keys, contracts, all sorts of things. And it's just a way I'm so passionate about bettering the industry that I started Runner Inc. with that vision that, like, what could I do to make the good agent great and the agent who is great even better?
Mhm.
And so that's why I started Runner Inc. So that's been a work in progress. It's gone really well, honestly, better than I expected. So I'm feeling very blessed about that, very grateful
Good.
for that. But that's going to be, that's my next venture between that and a title company and a couple other things. It's awesome. I'm always looking for opportunity.
Same here. And that's why I'm doing the podcast too, so that,
Yeah.
I can talk with other agents and give you a platform to talk about what you're doing, and then give
Yeah.
me the platform to talk about what we do at our office and how we're able to, help solve a lot of the issues that agents come across as well. So it's something that's it's always fun for me to help other people too.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the conversation and just wanting to talk to me.
Good. Well, do you have any last word that you'd like to give to our viewers?
No, I think that we've covered a lot in a short amount
Okay.
of time. And
Awesome.
no, but that's it. But yeah, no, thank you again for having me.
Tessa, I appreciate you coming on today. It's been a joy talking with you, and I am sure we'll connect again soon.
Sounds good.
This episode has been sponsored by Home Smart Stars. Agents, do you feel unseen, unheard? Maybe wish you had better commission. Maybe wish that you were welcomed and encouraged to just show up as you are and be your true, authentic self, and have all the training and support and tools to help you thrive in your real estate career. If so, then you need to reach out to Home Smart Stars and make Home Smart Stars your home for real estate.